Hey everyone, I'm here today to talk to you about my seed starting calculator. Last week I had shared a couple posts of my seed starting calculator on social media, on Facebook and Instagram and even Pinterest. And I wanted to come on today and give you a little tour of the actual calculator to show you how it works and to show you how simple it is and just to give you an idea of what it's like and show you how it might help you in getting your seeds started. Now the seed starting calculator is adaptable to any hardiness zone. It really is the same, all you need to do is enter your final frost date and it'll give you your planting date. So regardless of where you live, plants all work the same and they need a certain number of weeks in order to grow from seed until transplant. So I'm going to show you what to do, and let's get onto my website now here. So this is what you would see when you are entering my calculator. And so what would happen is the screen is all blurry. And so what you need to do to access it is you would just enter in the email, okay, and your first name, and you get the calculator. That's all it takes. And then you have instant access, which is really great and really easy. So on the calculator, as you can see, I'm scrolling down. There are two sections to the calculator. There is the left side and then there's the right side. Now, if you don't know your final frost date, I have 3 links here to help you do so. And I have a worldwide map. So anywhere in the world that you are, click on this plantmaps.com and locate where you are. It just, all you have to do is click your city. It'll give you your final frost date, and then you can use that information to enter in the information here. And then if you're in the US, there's a specific one to the US, and if you're in Canada, Canada has its own. And so these are very specific and very precise, and this is how I found out my final frost date. Now I am really I'm really conservative when it comes to planting out my seedlings, because I don't want to take any chances. I work really hard to get them to grow, and I don't want to lose them in case there is a frost and I get them out too early. So conservatively, I always click on June the 1st, and for me that is the safe date. Now some calendars online say May the 24th, May the 28th, May the 15th. It's really confusing because there is nothing specific to where I live exactly in Mono. So I would say I add a little bit of extra time. But what I suggest when you're looking at the final frost date is, as you're approaching that time, check the forecast, check the 14-day forecast and see what's predicted. So you want to take a look at the nighttime temperatures, and you want to see that they don't drop below 10 degrees. Most seedlings, unless they're cold hardy seedlings, and we're not talking about cold hardy here because we're talking about getting our hot loving veggies like tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, melons, all these things, peppers, they need heat in order to get planted. So it's really important that you don't plant them out when the temperature drops below 10 degrees Celsius. Now if that is in Fahrenheit, I don't know how to convert that, maybe 55 or so. I could be wrong. Anyway, so that's really important. So I always look at the date for 2-week prognosis. So in the past, as I started gardening and throughout the years, this date changed year to year because there's different climate patterns that have happened. So, in the past, I was good to go for the 24th, anywhere between the 24th of May to the 28th of May, I was safe to plant out my tomatoes because I looked ahead and I saw there is no unexpected frost, there's no strange weather. Pretty much at that time of year, we are in summer. But last year, we still had a frost, I believe June the 2nd or 3rd. We had a really cold spring here, and our summer started abruptly. So it was like cold till the end of May, right into early June, and then after the 3rd, we had heat. Like it just literally flipped overnight. So where I live, because the weather here is so unpredictable, we went from like cold, the next day was almost 30 degrees Celsius. It was like unbelievable how it just completely flipped. So this is why it's really important to check that forecast. So anyways, conservatively speaking, June the 1st, but if you're May the 1st or you're any other date, just enter that. So then you click calculate, okay? And then here as we go down, you see that the dates have now filled in here. This section doesn't have any dates yet, and I will talk about that in a few minutes. But here we are, so from A to Z, starting from amaranth and going down the list all the way to zucchini, I have all the dates. And in this list, I have included all the vegetables from A to Z that I could think of. And as well, I've included all the herbs from A to Z, as well as most of the flowers. Now, I've done my best. If I've missed something, please let me know. But as you can see, I've got violas, I've got tithonias, I have sweet peas, sunflowers, whatever I could think of. Now, if I've missed something, and I'm sure I have in terms of some of the flowers, please leave me a comment below or send me an email to julia@juliademacos.com and let me know what I've missed, and I would be happy to incorporate that into the calculator. Now, in some sections here, I have a post that's related, and that is highlighted, so you can just click on that and that'll take you directly to the post. But as you can see, what I see here in these sections here, so on the left column, it's name of crop, then these two sections relate to the number of weeks before the last frost date. And now this is what makes this calculator so adaptable to any hardiness zone around the world, is that every plant needs a certain number of weeks to go from seed to seedling before they can get outdoors or plant it out, right? So in terms of this is the indoors column. So this is the number of weeks before the final frost date that you would need to plant your crop specific seeds, okay? Now, there you can also plant some of them directly depending on what it is. So pumpkin, I mean, if you want to, you can, but things like, for example, rosemary, you cannot plant rosemary seeds directly in the soil. They will not grow into anything significant unless you're living in the south. If you're living in the south, different story, but I'm talking here, we're in the northern hemisphere. So they need, when you actually experience frost, they need this many weeks before the final frost date to get started. So had you waited, and here you can't really dig in the ground until it defrosts, which is typically end of April, this would not be enough weeks, because this would be the entire growing season and it would not have a chance to grow into anything. So you can see here, so we'd start at 18 to 20 weeks beforehand. You cannot sow directly. However, you can start them indoors anytime here if your final frost date is June the 1st, June the 13th till January the 13th until January the 27th. So that shows you that. So carrying on, let's say we were to talk about tomatoes. Let's go to tomatoes down here. Okay, so I do have a post. You can click on that, and I do have a post on that on growing tomatoes, and it's basically like all my tips and tricks for having successful tomato growth, everything from what they need to pests, everything's in that post. So here, you're not gonna sow your tomato seeds directly in the soil. I have tried this experiment. It does not work. And where I live, and I have a 4-month growing period, I do not have enough days to grow my tomatoes from seed until harvest in the ground. And now sometimes I do get scragglers in the ground, like tomatoes that have dropped seed and then they've self-sown themselves. None of those tomatoes ever really produce a crop for me. Maybe I get a tomato if it's a cherry tomato. They just need more time. So this is why I recommend 4 to 6 weeks before. Now, this is a generous amount, like I'm conservative, maybe I would say even. So I suggest starting your tomatoes 4 to 6 weeks prior to the final frost date. The reason why is because if you want to grow manageable size seedlings indoors, this is about the right amount of time to start them in order to let them grow in, to a sizable size to transplant them to the garden, because eventually they always catch up in the garden. However, if you do want to get a head start, and I didn't, give a ton of weeks here. If you do want to give them a head start, I would say 6 to 8 weeks. You can add 2 weeks. So if it's April the 20th to May the 4th, if your final frost date is June the 1st, minus 14 days, this would be, you can start them April the 4th until April the 20th, basically. You can get them started if you prefer like the earliest. I mean, we're talking about getting larger pots, transplanting them, giving them out of space. So I'm not talking about people that don't want to start them early, and by all means you can. It's just normal, like in terms of like normal growth, if you don't want to manage giant pots with large tomato plants, this is a good amount of weeks to get them started, okay, 4 to 6. So this is this left side. So I have the indoor starting date. I have the direct sowing date if you're to start in the garden, in terms of weeks. And then here on this section here, I tell you this exact date that you could plant it indoors. So petunias, for example, in my zone, start them March the 9th, but sowing them directly will not give you any plants. So I don't suggest it. But then there are ones that can. So for example, let's say mustard greens, okay? Who doesn't love mustard greens? I do. They're a cold hardy vegetable. They can grow for you in the spring. They can also grow for you in the fall. So if you want to get a head start on them, by all means, 4 to 6 weeks is plenty of time. That would be April the 20th till May the 4th. However, you can sow them directly in the soil too, and I show you the dates here. It's 2 to 3 weeks before the final frost date, which means May the 11th to May the 18th in my hardiness zone, okay? Now let's go to the right side of the chart here. Now this section I've included because the question comes up, can I plant these again in the season? Can I do a succession planting? and what's the latest that I can get them planted in the ground or started indoors in order to have a crop available or harvestable. So what you do here is on this section here, you're going to enter your first frost date for your area. Now in my area, typically that is October the 1st. That's typically my first frost date. Now depending where you live, that could be later. It could be, you know, into the later October. I know people towards the south of the US, they have, you know, they're still growing tomatoes at that time. So you would just enter your own date. Mine is approximately October the 1st. This year that just finished, it was October the 3rd. So this is basically, again, you want to look at the forecast, take a look at the 2-week prognosis. If it's October the 1st, just check, you know, beforehand 2 weeks and afterwards 2 weeks and see specifically when that is. Doesn't typically happen here where I live that we have a snowfall in September, but you never know, so it's just good to be safe. But this is on average, this is my date. So then click calculate, and now this section here, the right side, what it does is it shows you what can be planted again. So for example, arugula is a cold hardy vegetable. It will happily grow when it's cold outside, and it'll happily grow in the spring. It will also happily grow in the fall. In the summertime, it will still grow, but there are a lot of pests that will attack it. So it's really nice to grow something like arugula when it's cold, when there's a lot less pests like the white butterflies that will lay their cabbage worms on them and then eat your entire plant. And I've had that happen before. So when can you plant it? So you can start growing arugula 4 to 6 weeks before the final frost date. You can sow it in the ground 4 weeks before. You can continue to sow throughout the growing season. And I don't talk about the date that you need to start your transplant, but I do say when you can sow it at the last. So the last time you can sow arugula seeds directly in the soil in the garden is 3 to 4 weeks before the final frost date, and that is equivalent to September the 3rd to September the 10th. So if my first frost date is October the 1st, it does not mean that the arugula will die after that first frost, because usually the first frost is a very light frost, but it will continue to grow. But if I plant it any later than September the 10th, I probably will not have a harvestable crop. So that's basically how it works. And this continues on for basil. It talks about basil. Can you sow it again? Yeah, sure, why not? Like, you should definitely succession plant basil throughout the growing season. It loves heat, it loves the summer. But the latest you should plant it outdoors, you should sow directly, is 6 to 10 weeks before the first frost date, because it likes heat. It takes some time to grow. So over here, that would be in my zone, July the 23rd up until August the 20th. Sow the seeds, sow them every week, sow them every other week. You can sow basil seeds directly. You can also continuously start basil seeds indoors. And I say here, when would you start them? 6 weeks before the final frost date? And then you can, if you wanted to, carry on doing that every 2-3 weeks indoors to have fresh new plants. And you can continue. And so I didn't bother with the date here, because really it's just, it's up to you. You can just keep going, and you should stop at least, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks before this date. Okay, so anyways, that's it. And so here on this section here, I have a notes column, and what you want to do is, it says here, direct sow until 6 weeks before the first frost date. So this is what I suggest, and you'll still get a basil crop. So anyways, I hope this is helpful. Now, I have this available in an Excel format. It's a workable spreadsheet, and it's available through my shop, and I'll show you how to find it. So you would go to shop over here, and then you click on shop home, and then you would, oops, there we go. And I have my seed starting calculator right here. And so this is available for $5, and it's a downloadable Excel spreadsheet, and it's a workable Excel spreadsheet. So you can, if you have friends that live in another place, have a different frost, like final frost date or hardiness zone, you can play with that calculator. You can enter it, and what you're gonna get is you're gonna get a calculator without any of those ads. That is gonna be a beautiful sheet, and you can print it, you can work with it, and you can use it. You can adjust it, you could do what you like. So it is available. It's only $5, and it's through my shop. So anyways, I hope that's helpful. I hope that this little tour is giving you an idea of how this works. And I hope that it's giving you some ideas and got you excited for seed starting. There are definitely a bunch of seeds that are available. You can start many seeds throughout the winter time, and my seed starting calculator will show you specifically the earliest that you can start up until the latest. And so anyways, I hope that this calculator really helps you, and I hope it makes seed starting fun and simple. So that's it for me for today. If you have any questions about this, please be sure to leave me a comment below. Send me an email, julia@juliademacos.com. Also, if you like my video, please give me a like and click the subscribe button. Be sure to click the notification bell to be notified of any new and upcoming videos on my channel. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and happy gardening. Bye for now.